And GIS is the largest provider of sports degrees in the UK, with campuses at Wembley and Etihad Stadium. Learn online with unique access to the iconic MCG and a big-hitting Australian industry network. Be one of the first Australians to get a football master's degree and join GIS's global network of football leaders. Apply now to start in February 2023. Learn more at gis.sport/FNR. That's gis.sport/FNR.
You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR. That time of the week when we get to talk about the state of our football nation. George Danikian in the chair alongside Pokuah Frimpong, who tells me she's no relation to Jeremy Frimpong, who's part of the Netherlands World Cup team that's just making its way back to the Netherlands after falling just short in an absolute thriller against Argentina. Pokuah, welcome.
Well, it's good to be here, George. It's second week here. And
Second week,
and I'm feeling more comfortable.
So you should. The feedback from last week's effort has been tremendous. I had Jack Zervos say to me, will you make sure you tell Pokuah just how well she's been received? And I thought, I think I better let her know.
I appreciate that. No, I really enjoyed the interview last week, and I learnt a lot because obviously considering I'm only 22, there's still a lot for me to learn about the game and the history of the game. So I'm always wanting to learn and absorb that information.
Well, it's a terrific opportunity to do it on a program such as this because we get to speak to all manner of different people. Last week it was Jack Zervos, a long-time lover of the game, in fact a supporter of the game, and someone who's also not prepared to just sit back. He was someone who got on the front foot and gave us a lot to think about, gave Football Australia an awful lot to think about. And here we are a week on, and guess what, Pokuah? It's the turn of the newly independent, the freshly minted APL to have a good, hard look at itself and some of its decision-making over the last few days. It's been trumpeting a fantastic major events decision, in their words, not ours. And they're saying, we've locked up Destination Sydney or Destination New South Wales as the place to be for the next three World Cups. Sorry, the next three Grand Finals for both the women's and the men's. And if there's a youth Grand Final, it will be played in Sydney, of course, at this brand new set of facilities that the New South Wales government suddenly has an abundance of. We've been complaining about New South Wales not having enough good grounds. Well, suddenly they have two, Bankwest and this wonderful one that used to be part of Allianz. Now it looks just breathtakingly good. If you saw the game that the Matildas played there, that stadium looks magnificent.
It does. It's a very nice stadium, and we do need some more rectangular stadiums that are very, very good in this country.
Can I just run this past you? What have you made of the cacophony, the noise made out of the last couple of days? The fans are irate, to say the least. I've never seen them so united. So if it is possible to do a good thing for the game, then in a roundabout way the APL has, by suddenly uniting everybody, they're in chorus. They're saying, no, we want what we've had forever and a day, and that is something that's very different to all the other codes. We play the grand final where it matters most and for the teams that are competing in those last few days of the competition. Now, does that make sense to you? Or do you think, like the APL thinks, that, hey, we need to break the mould, push the envelope, give fans an experience that they've never experienced before?
It's certainly a bold choice, and I understand the choice made by the APL because the game does need money and it does need investment, and it is for our game to grow. Without the money, we are stuck. I also understand what the fan perspective is, because it is obviously Danny Sands spoke about creating a new tradition, but there is the old tradition that people want to stick with. And my take on it is I want to see how well it goes in the first year, particularly if two Victorian teams or us teams out of New South Wales don't make the final, how will the crowd turnout be? And I think after that, then we will know if this has actually been if this is a successful thing or not.
My concern, though, is that there's been an enormous hue and cry from fan bases around the country, and already one of the biggest games of the season potentially is the Melbourne Christmas Derby, and coming up we've got Victory against City, and people are saying we're going to turn up but we're going to leave at the 20-minute mark. Now, who does that benefit?
I don't know who that benefits. I think it's a way for the fans, for their voices to be heard, and I think it is important that we hear
I think the voices are being heard.
Yeah.
I think there's, we've already heard that the APL was concerned enough to call an emergency meeting at the beginning of the week. Where we haven't heard anything because we're working ahead of the game. And I'm hoping that by the time this broadcast goes to air, that we actually have an outcome, we have a decision, and one that appeases everybody, because the last thing we need, after what has been a monumental World Cup experience, when there's been so much good energy to be embraced by just about everybody, the last thing you want is this flash of negativity.
No, and I'm with you on that, George. I think that the game is in a really good space right now, and we need to be building on that. And that's why I want to see how it, because Danny Townsend announced that there's going to be other things sort of revolving around that week.
Yeah, they want to make it like a festival of football. Which is exciting.
Yeah, it's just very exciting. And I think had that information come out with the 3-year thing, I think maybe, and it was a lot of, and the things happening during the week were good for the game and people could see it around it. If that had been announced together, maybe this would have softened the blow. I think fans still would have been outraged, but it would have been perceived in a little bit different way because we could see the trajectory of what was they're actually planning, as opposed to just this massive thing that's coming.
Have you ever experienced the Festival of Football the AFL does and has done for years, where they fill up South Bank, for example, in the week leading up to the AFL Grand Final, and they put old football stars out there to sign autographs. They have games and they set up different exhibits in order to get people to experience some of the new age technology that allows you to immerse yourself and handball to a superstar, for example. Now you can imagine a festival like this where you've got Messi guiding your penalty against Neuer, or in this case, the goalkeepers who have been playing really well. Imagine you're suddenly kicking a penalty against the World Cup winning goalkeeper. That's some of the excitement, and they can do it. The immersive experiences are so good. The holograms are getting better. Yeah. The technology is almost like I can pass the ball to Lionel Messi.
Yeah. No,
which is kind of freaky.
No, and I think the week leading up to it has got to be really important because this week I've been thinking a lot about the game and the way the game is perceived in the context of Australia.
Yep.
And I look at it in comparison to the AFL. The AFL is a 7-day-a-week thing. Every day of the week you'll hear something about the AFL. If you turn to Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, you'll hear something about the AFL.
Constantly.
And I think sometimes what lacks in football is that we only hear about it on Saturday and Sunday and maybe on Friday when you're deciding your plans. So this week leading up to it, if we can create it as a whole, the whole year round, constantly talking about football.
What's coming up?
Yeah, what's coming up, then I think it achieves substantially more than people figure out what their plans are for the weekend. They say, Friday night maybe. But the AFL have got an upper hand because for Monday through to Friday, you've been talking about it and it's part of your plans for the weekend.
You've been inundated. You can't avoid it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why 5 years ago, the people who put their money up and decided they were going to run and create a streaming radio platform called FNR. No, that was the driver. That was the essence. They were fed up and sick and tired of all the opportunities that were being missed. And they thought, let's create a platform. Let's give the next crop of broadcasters an opportunity to do their stuff. And we've seen the first generation of broadcasters come through. Yeah. You're Gen 2, actually.
I am Gen 2.
Or the first of the Gen 2, which is super exciting. And let's get on to some of that. We'll go back and talk a bit more about the APL in just a moment, because our special guest is the chair of of the Central Coast Mariners, Richard Peil, who is buoyant because not only has he done very well for his club in this basically his first year there, or in this first iteration under his guidance, they've managed to sell a young football star called Garang Koul to Newcastle United in the...
Just think about that.
In the EPL. It's just... And let's luxuriate one more time before we speak to Richard about that extraordinary moment of football, of pure genius by a young man who had no right, other than the fact that it's in his genes, in his DNA, to pull the ball down from where it was, swing around, and did I mention it was on target?
Yeah.
He's lashed this ball, and there was only one place it was going to go, and that was in.
Yeah.
Only one problem. There was an extraordinary talented goalkeeper who was reading his mind and saying, in the event that he puts it on target, I am going to do my best. So he spread himself, and he's a giant.
Yeah, he is.
And he did it.
As an Arsenal fan, I've seen Emi Martinez pull out some spectacular saves, and it was because Garang Koul did such an incredible job because the technique to bring it down and to have have the ball be in a place where you can hit it with enough power to get it on and direct it on target. He did everything right. It's just the goalkeeper did a phenomenal job.
The chaser for that statement you've just made is what the Argentinian defenders did with the goalkeeper on the ground after making the save.
Yeah.
They've jumped on him. And they weren't complaining. They were jumping on him to go, mate, you've saved us from extra time at least.
Had we gone into extra time, I felt the momentum was really on our side.
Could you imagine?
And even if we had lost still, to take Argentina to extra time, would be one of the greatest achievements this country in football.
Oh, and the other thing, speaking of Argentina, they ran into a Netherlands side that wouldn't quit. Yeah. Those last 10 minutes.
Oh, insane. I watched it from an airport.
Well, can I just say, did they have a gag on you? Because did you see that second goal?
Yeah.
I mean, that free kick that they took. Talk about audacious. Talk about freaky. Talk about who thought about it. And I was told by someone that they do this in training.
Oh, wow.
So Van Gaal has basically said to them, no, we're going to have a plan C, D, A, G, and Z. And if I call Z, you're going to play. But what a time.
No, it was
what a time.
I've never seen a free kick taken like that. But it's...
No, there have been some brilliant ones over the years. But you're only... How old are you? 22.
I've never seen that. And I think the best part about it is that, like, we see now, the player lies on the floor behind it. Oh, yeah. We see, going for the top corner. But the calmness and the presence of mind just to be like, this is going to be so simple. Yep, I'm going to
pass it to my guy in the wall.
Yeah, they're going to be so unaware of what's about to happen. Just the most simple pass. And the pressure from I can't remember which Argentinian player was on him, but him to turn around and stay so calm and just whip it across the goal was beautiful.
Pokuah, there's a wonderful expression in sporting broadcasting, and it's like, it's wonderful to watch champions keep their calm while others lose their heads.
Yes.
And that was exactly what happened. That was a moment of sheer genius and panic by the Argentinians, who couldn't believe that there was no shot here. It was a pass. And in that extreme craziness, this guy's just turned around and went poke into the back of the net.
No, it was sensational. And this World Cup has been like the play on the field has been on another level, because there's been so many teams that have just been there.
Yes, exceeded all expectations. Can I just run something past you and see what your take is? It appears to me that if nothing else, the World Cup in Qatar has awoken not only Africa, but the Arab world.
Absolutely. And I think it's...
They've sort of been half held in the background, and suddenly they've gone, nah, we're as good as anyone else and we can go for it. And did I mention that it's still alive, the dream to win.
We, in my house...
As we speak, the dream still is alive.
We watched it in my family, and to see Morocco do like what they've done is so incredible, because for a long time when we go to these World Cup, we've had, occasionally we'd make the round of 16, it would be fun, we'd do all this, but we finally got the reward for it, and it doesn't matter what happens now. It does not matter if they don't... It doesn't matter if they don't make the final, if they come fourth, it does not matter. The fact that they've broken another barrier for African sides heading into these tournaments is incredible, and I'm so incredibly proud and happy, because I've got one of my best friends is Moroccan, so she was over the moon.
Well, can I drop another little pearl? Being an older guy, it does matter, but I understand what you're alluding to. They've exceeded all expectations. They're in a position to create history. Now, if they don't, I get your point, but if they do, the stakes go up exponentially.
If Morocco managed to do the impossible and win the World Cup, now...
You know, Adidas has a motto.
Yeah.
And the motto is... Impossible is nothing.
Yeah.
They did it before. When they enacted that campaign, it was for the 2004 Euros, when Greece defied everybody.
Greece side, yes.
Yeah. And let me tell you, every Greek every Greek you've ever likely to meet will tell you they knew Greece was going to win. The truth of the matter is they had no idea they were going to win a game. But the contagion, the fire, the fever took hold, and Greece in that tournament beat the reigning world champions, the champions of Europe, and the hosts twice.
Yeah.
So now bring it back to the World Cup, Qatar. Can Morocco, the Foreign Legion, right? I love it. They speak 3 languages in Morocco. You've got Arabic, you've got Berber, and you've got French in the diplomatic parts of the country. That's what the bankers do and everyone else, and government. So can you imagine? Can you imagine? I think it'll be a week-long holiday, maybe a month-long holiday in Morocco, if they get through.
Well, the Moroccans facing the French, because they have a lot of injuries though at the moment.
Yes, that's true.
Their side is
and couple of them have lost the opportunity to play because of the cards. Too many cards. Have they lost 1 or 2?
Oh, I thought after the quarterfinals they reset.
Well, let's hope.
I hope so, because you want to see the...
If you want to decimate a side, that's how to do it.
The thing that I love about the Moroccan side, that's, from me personally, is that so much when we see African sides play at these tournaments, everyone thinks of the flair going forward, they're so fast and pacey, but Morocco has showed a different side to African football. If we can defend, like we really can defend, and they are a solid unit, they're very difficult to break down. That's why the Portuguese side struggled the entire game to really break them down.
Should I just mention also that Morocco changed managers about 2 or 3 months before the tournament. The last team that did that was Spain with Lopetegui in Russia, and that didn't go so well. No. So what's in the water in Morocco that's allowed them to advance and play this organised, very astute, smart football?
I think that
aside from the fact that there's a great squad,
I think what a lot of people don't realise is that where the Moroccans are staying, they have their whole family there. Like, all the players have all their family. So it's a real, contentment. It's real, this is Morocco against, the rest of the world. So, and it's they're very united group. It's not just the players there saying, oh, we've got to play for our country, but you've got their family there to support you. So it feels like they're at home. I think it's really lifted the spirit of the group, and they've even united further. The fact you get to see the other teammates, family members, and you get to, it's like camp, just easy.
Successful sides start fashion, and they start trends. Yeah. Could this be a trend for all future World Cups, where you no longer have to look after the 27 players, but also their families? I think... And their uncles and aunties and grandmothers.
For some countries it might work. For other countries, there might be too much tension there for that to work out. But no, the Moroccan side have done an incredible job. They've shown such unity. You've seen the photos of Hakimi and all that stuff with their parents after the game, and you see how proud they are of them.
Listen, that opportunity to see the captain. Is it the captain? Celebrating with his mother on the pitch. That's off the charts.
Absolutely.
That is off the charts.
It's been truly incredible, but that's what I've loved about the playing of this one, because it is this World Cup there's a lot going on with this World Cup.
An awful lot.
There's an awful lot, but if we're just talking purely about the game and what's being presented to us as fans, these quarterfinals were insane. There was barely a boring game.
Can I run another line past you? What have you made of the quality of penalty taking?
George, I don't know.
Have you ever seen a worse bunch of penalty takers? And I understand the pressure is wild, and I'm going to remind listeners who've listened to this program over the years that many years ago I did an interview with Peil, and I asked him what was the hardest penalty he ever had to take, and it was the 1,000th one. The 1,000th goal, right?
One,
I said, but hang on, that was a penalty. He says, yes, but it was in front of the Maracana.
Yeah.
And it was packed. And they all imagined that it was going to be a goal.
Yeah.
And he said, my legs were jelly. Now, if the greatest of the many will tell you that will openly tell you that his legs were jelly, what should it say about others?
Yeah. No,
the anxiety factor goes through the roof. Professional or no.
Yeah.
You're earning $300,000. Someone said to me the other day, he's earning £300,000 a week. How can he not put the ball in the back of the net?
There's so much pressure.
Really, mate?
For me, the Ghana game against Uruguay, our game was ruined because the pressure of a penalty for Andre Ayew, and that was the worst penalty I've seen the whole tournament. Absolute stinker of a penalty. The Harry Kane one is... because he always hits them like that. He always goes full blast, top corner, and they're the hardest to save. But that's the fine line that you're playing at when, you've got that one last kick to save your side, because he scored that penalty before. And
he put it in Roberto Baggio land.
Yeah.
It's probably still orbiting alongside... I think it's the shuttle that they've got up there in the International Space Station. It's an opportunity to say once again, for those of you listening, this is State of Our Football Nation on FNR, Football Nation Radio. George Danikian, along with Pokuah Frimpong, who tells me she has to tell the truth. She's not related to Jeremy Frimpong, part of the Netherlands team at the Qatar World Cup. But it's time for us to meet our special guest. We invited him earlier and he jumped on board, and we're thrilled to have him. He is the very, very excited chair of the Central Coast Mariners. His name is Richard Peil, and he should be buoyant because not only has his team and under the stewardship of young Nick Montgomery doing some wonderful things, they've also seen one of their youngsters claimed by one of the Super EPL clubs in Britain. And how many more games are there left, Richard, for young Garang Koul?
Four, George. Four more games.
4 games
To
wow.
See 4 games.
Have you got
4
that?
Games.
Have you?
It was 44.
Have you got it through? Have you got it through to everybody that just how special this opportunity for football fans on the Central Coast and in the A-League, what it means to have 4 more opportunities to see this youngster who Pokuah and I spoke about it a little bit earlier. I don't know if you were listening, but we remarked on how extraordinary his talent was to, in the height and the excitement of those final moments against Argentina, he had the wonderful nous and skill to be able to bring the ball down and put it in the only place it could end up, and that's the back of the net. Except for one damn thing, the Argentinian keeper was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And the young man who would have gained instant legend status has to wait a little bit longer to be acclaimed as a legend. What did you make of it as the chair, super chair of the Central Coast Mariners from afar?
Well, look, it was just exciting to see both him and Jason Cummings get on the field. It was obviously they had to go through a very long process, and it wasn't confirmed till only a few weeks before that they were going to the World Cup. So it was a very exciting time for them and for the club. they both worked extremely hard to get there. Has had their teammates around them to help them out. But as I said to you, I think last time, George, he is a special talent, mate. And I think the thing about Garang that is amazing is his calmness in big moments, and that chance that he created in the last minute. We've seen him put those in the back of the net, and that it could have ended up there, but it didn't. But wasn't meant to be. But I'm sure you've told your listeners that already that he's the youngest stage since Peil to play in the knockout stage of a World Cup final.
I'm glad you brought that up because I neglected that. Once again, we are reminded how young he is, how precocious he is, but how beautifully poised he is. Pokuah and I have said on 2 or 3 different occasions the thing that stood up. From the very first time I saw him in the All-Star game, he doesn't seem to be fazed by those around him or the moment. It's never too big for him. Is that fair, Pokuah?
Yeah, absolutely. He's always calm every time he plays at such a pace, but he's always so calm in the pace. Correct. He's controlled the way he plays football.
So what's he like behind the scenes, Richard? Now, you're in a unique position as the chair, and you've got to govern and oversee so many different things that make up a football club. What's he been like as a youngster, along with the rest of the crew? Because they seem in that all access that we saw, which by the way, I commend you all. That was terrific access and an opportunity for fans to see not only how his teammates embrace him, but some of the character of this young man.
Yeah, and he is a character, mate. He's got a very dry sense of humour, mate. He's a very respectful young kid. He's very appreciative for the opportunities that Nick Montgomery and Serge have given him. He doesn't take it for granted. He certainly knows that without those 2 guys in his corner and spotting his talent, he could have disappeared. But mate, it'll be interesting to see what the next 12 to 18 months
brings.
How they plan out for him. It's he leaves us, his last game for us is on New Year's Eve against Melbourne Victory.
Oh, wow.
And he'll leave.
So hang on, where is the game? Where's the game against Victory being played?
At Central Coast Stadium.
Ooh.
So that's one of our big ones that we take pride in, and we make it a party atmosphere and with fireworks and all that sort of thing. So hopefully we get a good crowd that day.
Well, the Victory fans will travel. This young man has captured the imagination of Australian football fans, and the world is now watching, which is just remarkable. So you've got a special evening sorted, huh, and arranged.
Yep, for his last game we have. It pans out very well. Like I said, I wish it was 44 more games. We are going to miss him, guys. We are going to miss him. He's an X factor. But as I said, I think to you last time, you can't hold these types of players back, and that's just not the Central Coast Mariners way. It never has been. The deal is to put our resources into young players, get them to a level, and then unfortunately it's a reality that we have to move them on to survive. So that certainly will continue to be the way.
It's your business model. You're a super nursery. Is that a fair call?
Yeah, it is, mate, and we're only going to amplify that over the next few years. Like I brought Luke Wiltshire and he's a team around him to head youth development, have guys like Andy Bernal in there as well, toughening the kids up, making them better athletes.
Well, the best thing about both those 2 characters you mentioned, Wiltshire and Andrew Bernal, they've been there, they've done that. They've travelled the world. They've seen just about anything and then everything. So they're wonderful people to have in your corner.
Yeah, and when you throw Nick Montgomery on there as well, you've got probably close to 1,500 professional games between those 3 guys. And all 3 of those guys, George, you've seen them, all 3 of them play. And they would all describe themselves as not the most talented, but they're warriors. Correct. And that's what we're trying to amplify at the Mariners is you don't have to be the most talented player to get a spot in our academy. What you do have to do is be prepared to not think you're there just because you're in the youth academy. That's the start of your journey. Work hard and be a warrior. Play the game hard, fast, and become a better athlete. And we believe that will take you a long, long way. Added with the football development as well. So, we've got a lot actually, George. We've got a lot of talent.
I was going to say, you've been blessed in your timing that you put your hand up and you came on board. And let me say, from that moment, the news has been getting better and better and better at the club, and long may it continue, Richard, because quite seriously, we need good noise, we need good energy, we need good vibes, we need good characters to come into the game each and every week. I was just telling to Pokuah a while ago. Pokuah is the beginning of the second generation of broadcasters that FNR is, showcasing to the marketplace. And for us, it means the world to see them, gain jobs, move on. It's part of the territory. We hate to lose them, so I know exactly where you're coming from. Yeah. You'd love to have him for 144 games. And he would be, I would suggest to you right now, he would be one of the biggest things in the A-League if he was allowed to play 144 games. There is no doubt about that. What is exciting and what's fabulous, and you've gone a long way to giving us some evidence of that, is his poise and his commitment and his respect. He doesn't think it's all happened and he can just sit back now. He understands he's got a lot of hard work to do.
Yeah, and he does. He's got, like I've said many a time, he's got to develop into a 90-minute player. That's his next big step. He's an unbelievable impact player in 30, 35 minutes. His next step is to take that step up to the 90 minutes. But to step backwards about the Mariners Academy, George, I can tell you we have a very lofty goal, and that is that every World Cup moving forward from now on in the men's space and the women's space, as you're probably aware, we get our women's license next season. We want
look forward to
8 players. Yep, we want 8 players both in men's and women's World Cup teams from the Central Coast Mariners Academy. That's our goal, and I know it's with 12 teams in the league and also the international development. That's a fairly lofty goal, but that's what we're about is youth development. It's central to who we are. So, that's our lofty goal, mate. I just want
to bring one last point about Garang. You said that his next stage of development is turning into a 90-minute player. How far away do you think he is actually from that? Do you think a season away, or is he still got a long way to go to get to that?
Look, that's a Nick Montgomery question, I think.
We'll get Nick on, don't worry.
Nick and Luke and Andy Bernal, they're the football, and Sergio, they're the football experts. I don't pretend to be a football expert. In fact, I'm not an expert of anything, to be candid. But they're the guys. They're the guys that really.
Oh, I think we.
Richard. One of the things we keep talking about, with good management, it's all about how you delegate, and the sheer fact that you've got talent like Bernal, Wiltshire, and Nick Montgomery is where the credit lies. But you've brought them together. That's the special thing.
I think we may have just lost Richard for a second.
Okay.
So
is he back?
No, he's not back yet. So we can take a
short break.
We can take a short break.
Okay, you're listening to FNR's State of Our Football Nation. Our special guest when we get him back is Richard Peil, who's the chair of the Central Coast Mariners, and we're talking about the exciting talent that is Garang Koul. And there's only 4 games left. The last game of the stay at the Central Coast Mariners will be up against the Melbourne Victory. So let's take that break and be back in just a moment.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR. Richard Peil's our special guest on FNR's State of Our Football Nation. We lost him a moment ago, but I think he is back. Richard, you there? Hello, Richard.
I had a call from my seat.
the joy, yes, the joys of running a business and speaking to a radio station at the same time. It can be challenging, but welcome back. Yeah. Not a problem. We understand. Let's just talk about some of the things that are going on around us. The World Cup is still, of course, underway. It's been a super exciting contest for a great number of countries that have come to Qatar. And despite all the hue and cry and the noise before the tournament started, it has been riveting. And we've seen some tremendous stories and some great performances displayed. And the Australians came back, and the Australian football public has been buoyed. What's the sound and the feel on the Central Coast since the boys are back?
Look, it was obviously a really exciting World Cup, and in fact, on the game versus Argentina, we put a big screen at the stadium there, and I expected probably 400 or 500 people to turn up, and there was about 1,400 people turned up for that particular event, and I guess that speaks
volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. The people vote with their feet, and that was a really good turnout for us. So the excitement's still there. Unfortunately, not making excuses, but obviously the boys came back last week and they weren't 100% health-wise. They had some stomach issues, but both wanted to play, but unfortunately we couldn't get across the line last week, which we put a big dampener on it. But hopefully the whole country is still excited by what the Socceroos did in the World Cup. I think, I'm not sure if you're a fan of Graham Arnold. I certainly am, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for both the selection, the brave selections, and the way he played the football.
I've been a long time supporter of Graham from the days when I first presented him with a Man of the Match award for Sydney, Croatia, when they beat Sydney Olympic in an absolute thriller in the old NSL days. So that's how far I can go back with young Graham Arnold, and he's been a terrific young boy. And his commitment to the game and his journey in this game is just fantastic. And the fact that he got everybody in there and he said to them, don't worry about the rest. Turn off the social media. Let's just get out there and do our fans and our families proud and leave it all on the pitch. And that's what they did. And as we touched on him a little earlier in our conversation, young Garang Koul, who had no right to do what he did, that is pull the ball out of the sky and fire it on goal. Have you seen the tweet where some smarty has used a little bit of AI and he's actually got the ball in the back of the net?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's worth it. They've actually got Garang running away with his hands up in the air. They must have grabbed it from some other footage, and it looks fantastic. Yeah. And if you didn't know that it was, a little bit of stagecraft, you'd go, oh, yes, Australia is equalised 2-2. It's just a golden moment. But let's get back. Look, for Football Australia, that was a fantastic jolt and a wonderful kick in the arm. Fantastic for everyone. The problem is now we have two separate bodies in the game. One is the APL, the Australian Professional Leagues, and then they're freshly minted, brand new. And, of course, Football Australia. They're two different bodies. One is buoyant. The APL made a decision the other day that has been frowned upon by just about everyone I've spoken to, except for one or two who saw the commercial opportunities. But can I just say, and I mentioned it to Pokuah earlier, the APL has done in one fell swoop what the game has been trying to do for 40 years, and that's be united. Everyone's united against them for this decision. What do you make of it?
I'll probably have to stay out of that one, mate.
I understand that.
There's a lot of Yeah, there's a lot of discussion going around today about the whole thing. From a personal personal perspective of someone who's just come into the administration, from a fan position, I absolutely understand the outcry of it. I guess, George, the part I find hard to understand is the timing.
Yep.
The timing of the announcement. Mm-hmm. Like our boys have just returned to the shores after an amazing campaign. We should be in a bubble now of total euphoria about the game in Australia, and I guess that's probably all I'd comment on, mate. Is I just say, I was just going to say, from all the years of in news, this has all the hallmarks of a government decision. That is, the New South Wales government, and its major events division looks like they wanted to score a goal. They didn't realise it could turn up to be an own goal. That's the only concern I have. Now, we won't let you put yourself in any harm's way, because our responsibility at Football Nation Radio is do no harm to the game. And that's what we want the APL to understand too. Every decision they make, goes an awful long way. We want the juniors, as you know, that you're creating out there with all that buzz on the Central Coast, to want to play the game and to want to play it to the highest level they possibly can. And to hear that you've got the women's team, when do they start? Is it 2023?
You've got the license for next season.
Yeah, so next season.
So it'll be next season.
24.
So 23-24. Wow.
Straight after the World Cup. Straight after the Women's World Cup. So, and we're lucky to have the England World Cup team stationed on the coast for the.
Get out of it! Are you looking after the Lions? Are you?
We are.
The Lionesses. Sorry, the Lionesses. Yes.
That'll be a great boost. And look, we're excited about bringing the women's team. We already have a very deep academy. We're just working through a couple of different options at the moment, the best way for us to hit the ground running. But exciting times there, and I know there's a lot of buzz in female sport on the coast because of this. So, exciting times, and hopefully that flows over into football in general, both junior levels, professional levels, senior levels, and we get the same joy out of the Women's World Cup that we got out of the men's. I do want to shout out, you did mention Football Australia, and I as well as Graham Arnold, deserving a lot of credit. I think James Johnson, the CEO of Football Australia, did a pretty amazing job in some of the key decisions that they made along the way there. So, especially there were stages, as you know, guys, there were certain factions calling for Graham Arnold's head, and I'm glad that was rejected. So.
And we all
well done too.
And we all benefited as a result, which is terrific. Yeah, you're right. Spot on.
Richard, I wanted to go back about, obviously next season you guys got the license to come into the league. And we've seen in the past 2 seasons, we've seen Wellington come in with not as much success as maybe they would have liked, but obviously in difficult circumstances, their first season in the league. And we've seen Western United this season start incredibly under Mark Torcaso and that group that they have. Does that, seeing the side like Western United get into the league and have so much success early on, are you more excited with your squad getting into the competition? Do you think you can make that kind of splash next season?
Oh, look, I'm not one that likes to make bold predictions. What I will say is this, that we are serious about, and not me, but the people at the Central Coast Mariners lobbied long and hard to get this license, and it's the timing of it is fantastic as far as I'm concerned. So we will be doing everything we can to make that a long-term successful venture for us. So, but in essence, what I do want to make clear is that we won't just throw money at trying to win a title year one. We will be taking a very
measured,
long-term approach to the business model and making sure that we're sustainable long-term, which I think is most important.
Here's a big question for you. With the women's team starting up after the World Cup, the Women's World Cup on the Central Coast next year, will they also play on that beautiful ground that the Lionesses may not want to leave when they come and visit?
Well, they won't be playing on there. We do have a trial game that was played recently there.
Yeah.
But no, they'll be training on there.
All right.
They will be training on there. Yeah. They'll be training on the main grounds. No World Cup games on the Central Coast, unfortunately.
So where are we likely to see the Central Coast women's team play or be based?
They will play out of the Central Coast Stadium. So one of our goals is to try and do it. Yeah. Sorry, our women's team will play at Central Coast Stadium.
Oh, fantastic!
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I must have led you astray when I mentioned Lionesses. No.
You did. I thought you meant. Yeah, sorry, George. I thought you meant will we get having any England games on there? I thought surely George knows that.
Will the fans be allowed to see the Lionesses during training?
Mate, I actually don't know.
That'd be exciting, wouldn't it?
I mean, we'd love for that to happen. Obviously, they'll want some privacy with tactical type sessions, which we'll grant, but. Candidly, mate, it'd be pretty hard for us to stop eager fans, as you know, on the southern end. There, we can do. There is a little bit of protection there. So,
Richard, the reason I ask this is because when I was president at South Melbourne, we had the French team. Thierry Henry, Zizou, and all these guys. They came to Lakeside. They came to Bob Janes Stadium, and we saw them training. And I had an array of Socceroos just turn up to see the training, and they were in awe. Past Socceroos and current Socceroos, and they were in awe of what they were watching. So you can imagine if you let the Lionesses loose.
I was going to say though, Richard, I think that you guys may have, in terms of like clubs getting teams, you guys may have won. Besides getting the Matildas, I feel like you may have got the second biggest team fan-wise.
Correct.
So I feel like you get a lot of foot traffic if you are able to get have people come and look at their training sessions.
I think we would, and you're right. It's the supporter base will be, I'm sure, substantial, and I'm sure that we will be able to organise some access sessions to the team. That the discussions so far have been very good with England. So I do anticipate that we'll be able to capitalise on them being there and fans access. So.
George, I might have to get a plane ticket down there just to go.
I'm thinking Richard will have to get us up there just to have a look through, and we might be able to do, as they say, a storybook presentation from there. Wouldn't that be something? Hey?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
So, Richard, how are sponsors reacting to the buzz and the energy?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Obviously, look, this year's been a funny year corporate sponsor-wise for us, to be honest with you.
Yep.
We're not quite at the level that we need to be, I'll be honest with you. So any corporate sponsors that are looking to get behind the great game, give us a call. We're working hard on that part of our business, George. So, but the good sponsors that we have, amazing sponsors are as equally excited by having three Mariners at the World Cup and the first time an A-League team's had three players. So, yeah, very proud of what we've managed to achieve. And of course, without those sponsors, George, as you know, we can't do what we're doing for the young players.
Very true.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah, for sure.
They need us and we need them, and that's what the game has been about for quite some time. And the clubs that do it better are the ones that continue to notch up the results and get the feedback that they so richly deserve. By the way, there's a fantastic game coming up in Melbourne this week. It's the Derby, the Melbourne Derby. Who are you playing this week?
We are playing Sydney FC at home Saturday night.
So now Sydney FC have probably are fresh and ripe to be taken because they've just had a huge win against the team leading the competition, Melbourne City.
Yeah, correct.
That was, I think, the first time they've won on their home ground, so they're buoyant. This is the time to jag them.
Yeah, look, all I can say is this, mate, and again, I don't like making bold predictions, but we were nowhere near at the standard we expect to be last week. We were very disappointed. The fans candidly should have been disappointed in the performance, but we know we'll be better this week, and we'll be really, really well prepared for this game. They're a very well-coached side. They're a very talented side, but I expect a warrior spirit to come out on the Central Coast this Saturday night, and let's see where that lands. But, hopefully we get a good crowd out there.
And do you have any more big things for the fans to be excited about heading into the new year? Are you going to have some more? Because obviously we know about the APL have announced that there is going to be a whole week leading up to the grand final. But is there something that the Mariners are organising for their fans?
Look, for our young fans, yes. Since obviously COVID stopped a lot of our community engagement as a club.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that's something that we are hitting extremely hard right now. So in the last 2 weeks alone, we've been and interacted with over 7,500 school kids. And that'll continue, those types of numbers. We've had 6. Andy Bernal's been out to 6 charity events for PCYC, Salvation Army, the Glen Drug Rehabilitation Centre. So the Mariners are hyper-focused on getting back out and making our community feel absolutely a part of our journey. So I think that, and it does really, really get people bought into what we're trying to achieve. I mean, it's not rocket science, is it? You've got to bring your fans along, and your young fans are the best ones to get excited, and then they force their mum and dad to bring them along to the games. So I guess that's where we're focusing, is on our community engagement right now, which will be a hallmark of the Mariners while ever I'm involved with them.
Well, that's the good news you've heard from Richard Peil, the women's team coming up next year right after the Women's World Cup. So Central Coast Mariners adding yet another team to their stable of talent. The women, so they'll be part of the Liberty Women's A-League next season. The season starts about October, is that right?
Today's November.
November. All right. Okay. So exciting times. There are 4 games left to see Garang Koul. So if you are part of this new generation, in fact, if you're a soccer lover or a football nut like I am and Pokuah is, you're going to want to see every minute of this young man's journey to the final time he plays for the Central Coast Mariners at home. It'll be against Victory. It's New Year's Eve. Is that right?
New Year's Eve, yes.
That's just fantastic. Yep. What a time to go.
But Richard, that's was that originally set, the set date? Because to have Victory, and I'm assuming when you do play Victory, that's probably when you get some of your biggest crowds. For him to be sent off in that particular game, that must be very good for the club.
Yeah, great for the club, and it was all planned. I had this master plan in place.
Oh, well done.
No, it fell in place for us. So we've been very lucky, and hopefully, and I will say this, anyone who's seen Garang play on TV, I'm a big believer that TV slows the game. It looks slower on TV.
He's even faster in real life.
Come and watch him live, and you will be blown away. And don't miss the opportunity. Any football lover should try and get along to one of those remaining 4 games and see a special talent that I believe will be a household name globally by the next World Cup. Let's see whether I'm right.
You know, Richard, there are an awful lot of people, and that number is starting to grow, based on what they saw, that limited little flash that they saw. They are of the belief that Garang Koul, all things being equal and in no injuries or anything like that, with a fair slice of luck, there's every chance he will be one of the big names representing Australia at the next World Cup in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. It'll be 3 nations coming together to create something quite special. Boy, that
can't wait.
Oh. We're getting tickets to go with you, Rich, so start planning the tour. Good. All right. Thank you. Listen, thank you once again for taking the call and wanting to join us and help us out. I know it's an awkward time, and we understand there are emergency meetings currently underway with the APL hierarchy. Let's hope that, quieter minds or cooler heads prevail. The game is, as you say, riding on a fabulous wave. Long may it continue, and we don't want any disruptions. And good luck on the weekend against Sydney.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Great job.
Pleasure, my boy. Richard Peil there joining us on Football Nation Radio, state of the football world. What have you made of it? You can tell he's excited. You can tell he's got a lot on his plate. You can tell he wanted to say more, but he's as a chair, you have an obligation to all the elements that make up a football club. He does, and I think he said as much as he could say. And but no, the thing I'm really excited about, I didn't realise that the women's is going to be phenomenal, because seeing Western United this season and their success, I want a more competitive A-League women's, and I think we're getting some really competitive matches this season. The fact that Garang Koul's last games against Melbourne Victory, it's got to be surely the biggest game on their calendar, maybe. Besides, it should be. It could well be the match of the round. Yeah. Hey, if the results go reasonably over the next 2 or 3 weeks, it could be. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. There you go. It'll be absolutely. That's some effort. It'll be thrilling. Okay, we've got a few minutes left. Where do you want to take us? You're the co-host of State of Our Football Nation. Well, heading into, I want to know what your predictions are for the derby. Yeah, for the derby and for the semi-finals in the World Cup. Oh, okay, all right. Well, by the time we go to air, we will know the two key results. What do you want the final to be, Josh? Okay, there's a part of me that wants Morocco to upset the French, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility, and to either play Croatia, who are just extraordinary. I mean, I love that Croatian midfield. Love. Not only look, there aren't too many holes in that Croatian side, and the thing that they keep reminding us and have done for the better part of the last 15, 20 years is they have an enormous football IQ. Yeah. Yeah, and you know that your IQ and your IP are precious things. There aren't too many holes in that side. They are really shrewd. They're really smart. You saw what they did to get where they are now, right? They took up that space. They didn't give Brazil room to breathe. Yes? Yeah. And what happened? They suffocated them. That didn't make Brazil a weaker team. It just made them a loser on the day. So to all those people who jump on board and say, oh, they choked or this, that, and the other. No. Football game, and we've proved it. There are many ways to play football. There are people that understand that you can win on the counter. There are those that believe that it's all about bossing the game. Well, the one thing we've seen throughout this tournament is sides bossing the game and losing. Yeah, we have seen that. So what have we learned? You've got to put the ball in the back of the net. No, what I've seen is that I've seen a lot of sides not take their opportunities when they've been on the attack a lot. And that's when you get nailed. Yeah, because Brazil had, Croatia had moments, but Brazil, they had one shot. Yeah. Right? Croatia had one shot, but they made it count. But 20 from Brazil. But you could see it before that goal happened. You saw it. Because they moved that ball so quickly, but with such precision with their passes. When that ball ended up at the back, and I was like, oh, you're calling the game these days, and you see and watch things differently. You understand tempo? Yeah. And you understand how sometimes you can slow things down? Yeah. Yeah? Let it play, and then you can slowly build it up, and then you can slow it down again, only to strike like a snake. Yeah. And that's what they did. They didn't lull them, but they said, okay, well, this is our pattern of play. It's the way they play, though, Croatian. So just as we saw with the Dutch, when they pull that bloody rabbit out of the hat to create that magical free kick. You do it when you do what your opponent least expects you to do. You do. And the better sides do it more often than not. Yeah. Yeah? And and of course could be Messi's last game. I'll be honest with you, George, or last World Cup. I kind of want to see a replay of Croatia versus France, and I want Croatia to win. Because that would be awesome. I really want an underdog to win. Well, I think this World Cup has proven that the world is getting tighter. The gap between the haves and the have-nots is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Because we're seeing players go everywhere and anywhere, and it's been great to see.
Someone pointed out to me the other night that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, the countries offered up their style of football when they turned up at the World Cup.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist today because all those countries, all their superstars play in every league in the world.
Yeah.
So they know one another. It's not unusual for Gvardiol to know Kylian Mbappe because they've played him 5 times in the European Championships. So you're not playing strangers. You're playing guys you come up with on a regular basis. So the tactics change. That's why football IQ means an awful lot. Morocco has a dream. You mentioned that they're like a family.
Yeah.
They could do anything.
They can.
France could be arrogant enough to let it slip. Yeah?
Yeah. They're the most...
Or they could turn it on and allow Kylian Mbappe to use all the gears that he has.
The amount of goals he scored at a World Cup.
By the way, did you like the way he looked after Kyle Walker?
Yeah.
And he said to Kyle Walker, what's this business trying to run with me?
Yeah.
Watch me change gear. Exactly. He went past him.
He was so fast.
And Kyle is freakishly fast.
Freakishly fast. And seeing Mbappe just with ease, it was incredible.
It's like watching a really good sports car.
Yeah.
And then you saw the what they call the Veyron, alongside. I've got another couple of gears. Yes. Just went past. Yeah, it was just wonderful to watch.
Absolutely.
Listen, I hope you've enjoyed the hour. It's our second week together. We're building nicely, thank you very much.
We are, George. I like it.
The very young and very talented Pokuah Frimpong, who's now part of our team at FNR. And good luck with your APL. You're doing some more calls this week. Which games are you doing?
I'm not doing this game. My next game is on New Year's Eve. And
wow.
I'm doing...
You're doing Central Coast Mariners and Victory?
No, I believe it's Melbourne City, Brisbane Roar.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. And compliments of the season to you. See you when we do this again next week. In the meantime, we trust you have an opportunity to see some more fabulous football. Couple of great games still to be played, and there's a World Cup final next Monday.
Very close. I like it.
Have you got any? No, it's too early. Too early. Too many things could happen between now and then. For the Melbourne Cup, for the Melbourne Derby, who have you got?
I'll go with City. I'll go with City.
You go with City?
Yeah, I'll go with City.
I'm thinking Victory. Ask me why.
Why is that, George?
There's no Patrick Kisnorbo.
Oh, yeah, that is true. The World Cup is overtaking my brain.
I know.
That happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rado Vidicic, who look after the women's, the A-League women's for Melbourne City for the last few years, has taken over. And I think it always takes 1 or 2 weeks to get your voice through to the players. Yeah. I'd love City to get up, but I just have a feeling in my bones that Victory love playing against City, especially when it's a City home game.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping the fans turn out in force, protest or no protest. And it's a cracking game. We need brilliant football.
That's all I want.
To give the game every jet, propulsion it can get. Absolutely. Until next week, this is State of Our Football Nation on FNR. George Danikian and Pokuah Frimpong. You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR.